Welcome back everyone. In today's session, I'm going to give you the solutions. Again, test and evaluation section, Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 2. There are 5 extracts in this session. Go through the entire video. Don't skip the video and learn how to write such answers. Learn what are the key words and expressions in this scene. Very quickly, read the extract from the screen and now the questions. In what way did Cassius mistake Brutus? Feelings or passion? How was the misunderstanding cleared by Brutus? 3 marks. Brief answers, change paragraphs. According to Cassius, he had not received from the eyes of Brutus that gentleness and expression of warmth that he was used to receiving. Brutus had become too strict, too strange a person to him. Cassius thus mistook Brutus's feelings. These are the ways by which Cassius mistook Brutus's feelings or passion. Next सब पार्ट हम लोग क्या करेंगे? पैराग्राफ चेंज करेंगे यहाँ पे. How was the misunderstanding cleared by Brutus? Brutus explained that he had kept his troubled feelings inside him. Internally, Brutus को बहुत ज़्यादा तकलीफ था. क्या तकलीफ था? वो सफ़र कर रहे थे because of his conflicting emotions. बहुत कुछ चल रहा था ब्रूटस के मन में और इसीलिए ब्रूटस अपने दोस्तों को नेग्लेक्ट कर रहा था शायद. Of late, he was worried with conflicting emotions, very important, which perhaps was affecting his conduct. Due to these conflicting thoughts, he was forgetting to show his love to his friends. Hence, Cassius must not misinterpret this neglect, and he was one of his close friends. All these points must be there in your answer. Troubled feelings inside him, number 1. Worried with conflicting emotions, number 2. Forgetting to show his love to his friends, number 3. Cassius must not misinterpret this neglect, number 4. And Cassius was one of Brutus's close friends. Next, question number 2. What was the consequence of this misunderstanding on Cassius? 3 marks. Cassius misinterpreted the expression passions of Brutus, and because of that, his heart had kept locked thoughts of great importance which were worthy to think about, worthy cogitations. This expression is there in the text, worthy cogitation. After this, a brief answer. 3 marks, a brief answer. ज़्यादा लिखने की यहाँ पे कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. Read the question and understand what is being asked. Give the meaning of. For the eye sees not itself, but by reflection by some other things. Cassius questioned Brutus if he could see his own face. In reply, Brutus said that the eye does not see itself except when it is reflected by something else. This is the meaning of these 2 lines. Who volunteers to be a mirror to reflect the qualities of Brutus to himself? Why? There are 2 subparts. Cassius volunteers to be Brutus's glass, that is a mirror to reflect the qualities of Brutus to himself. 3 marks. So the next section, the next question, why? Cassius wants to reveal to Brutus his greatness, power and other great qualities and what he himself does not know. ये तो एक रीजन है, मगर रियल रीजन क्या है? केसियस एक क्लेवर मैनिपुलेटर थे and he is trying to win the confidence of Brutus as the latter is an honorable man. Cassius ने जूलियस सीजर के अगेंस्ट एक कॉन्स्पिरेसी हैच किया है और इसीलिए केसियस को ब्रूटस का साथ चाहिए. ब्रूटस एक ऑनरेबल रोमन है. अगर ब्रूटस केसियस को सपोर्ट करता है तो कॉमन सिटीजन्स ऑफ रोम उन्हें ज्यादा सस्पेक्ट नहीं करेंगे. According to Cassius, what do people in high position in Rome say about Brutus and about the condition of the people? So here there are two sections which need to be answered. First, what do the people say about Brutus? Number 1. And number 2, condition of people. Let us read this answer and see if I have answered all the sections. Many highly placed men in Rome wish that the noble Brutus had his eyes, that is, could see everything and think out its remedy. So the common people of Rome, the highly placed people of Rome, many of them were in great trouble and they wanted Brutus to find out a remedy. So this is about the highly placed people. What they think about Brutus. The first answer. Now, the condition of the people. The people are groaning underneath this age's yoke. A quotation. Groaning underneath. मतलब क्या है? They are suffering under the oppression of the times. Yoke का क्या मतलब है? Era of end of republicanism. Republicanism रोम में खत्म हो चुका था and the people were suffering under the oppression of the times. Where are Brutus and Cassius at this time? Learn the settings properly. Which virtue of Brutus is Cassius referring to in the first line? What is Cassius's purpose in this speech? Brutus and Cassius are at a public place in Rome. Change paragraph. Which virtue? Brutus loves honor more than he fears death. He prefers honor to death. His loyalty to Rome is his greatest motivation. Cassius refers to this virtue of Brutus. He focuses on honor. Very specific answer. Just observe how I have mentioned almost all the important points. Next, what is Cassius's purpose? Purpose क्या है? Cassius is a clever manipulator and he speaks of honor as he believes it to be effective in swaying Brutus to his side. Brutus को अपने तरफ खींचने के लिए Cassius ने क्या वेपन यूज किया, क्या मेथड यूज किया? Cassius ऑनर के बारे में बात करने लगे और वो जानते थे ब्रूटस जरूर इससे बहुत प्रभावित होंगे. He has hatched a conspiracy against Caesar and he wants to win the support of Brutus. This is the purpose. He wants to sway Brutus to his side. He wants to trick Brutus. Give the meaning of. But for my single self, I had as lief not be as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. Who is I here? Here I refers to Cassius. पहले ही मैंने I कौन है ये mention कर दिया है. Personally, single self का क्या मतलब है? Personally, Cassius would rather not live at all. As while being alive he cannot respect himself. Respect खो के, मर्यादा खो के, dignity खो के जीने का क्या फायदा है? He would rather die than live in constant fear of a person who is no better than himself. इस जीवन का क्या फायदा अगर किसी के अंडर में ये जीवन व्यतीत करना है तो? Respect खो के. Give 2 incidents which Cassius uses later in this discussion to indicate that Caesar is as weak as any human being. 3 marks. Remember this. 3 marks. So, mention the 2 incidents briefly. The first incident, River Tiber, swimming. Cassius recalls an incident about racing Caesar across River Tiber and having to rescue an exhausted Caesar from drowning. This is the brief explanation of the first incident. he describes another incident. And why? In order to prove the weakness of Julius Caesar. Another instance which occurred in Spain, and this instance occurred in Spain to prove Caesar's weakness. This is the second instance. Caesar shook when he had fever. When the attack was on him, his lips lost their color, became pale, same eyes whose very appearance intimidates the world lost their brightness, and his tongue was dry, his tongue was parched. In this way, he was just like any other ordinary human being. He was not a god. Although people hailed him as a god, he was actually not a god. एक साधारण से इंसान थे Julius Caesar. What happens immediately after Cassius's speech? Immediately क्या होता है? Immediately after Cassius's speech, Cassius and Brutus hear another general shout. Brutus says that these praises are for some new honors that have been given to Caesar. Common citizens of Rome shout करने लगे. General, another general shout. How does it help Cassius to rouse the feelings of Brutus against Caesar? Cassius continues to try to subtly influence Brutus. Influence Brutus. Influence is very significant here. Arguing that it is their own fault. How does this help Cassius? And he argues that it is their own fault, not faith's, if they allow Caesar to triumph as king. They are like petty men, while Caesar stands with one leg on each side of the narrow world like a colossus. कहाँ Caesar और कहाँ Brutus, Cassius और दूसरे लोग, ये सब लोग petty men हैं. Caesar कौन है? दुनिया का शहंशाह बन गया है. What stand does Brutus take a few minutes later? Stand of Brutus, which makes Cassius glad that his efforts have not been in vain. Brutus replies that he understands what Cassius is getting at, what he is trying to say, and that they will discuss it later. He adds that he would rather be a mere villager, this is the stand, than be ruled by a king. Which characteristic trait of Brutus is revealed through the stand he takes? 4 marks. What is the characteristic trait? Brutus seems conflicted, granting some of Cassius's argument, yet uncomfortable with his insinuations, namely that they should move against Caesar's supposed ambition. He is slow, deliberate thinker. This is there in the reference book. Slow, deliberate thinker. And he is also a confused idealist. Confused idealist as well. This is his tragic flaw. He is a confused idealist. He loves Caesar. He loves Rome. He loves honor. But he loves his loyalty to Rome more than he loves Caesar. And he is in a dilemma. He is confused. What will he do? Next, extract 3. What are the games Brutus is talking about? During the festival of Lupercal, god of fertility, important young men took part in a holy race through the city. These are the games. Who speaks of the games earlier in the scene? Julius Caesar speaks of the games with Antony and Calpurnia earlier in the scene. Calpurnia भी लिख सकते हैं हम और Calpurnia भी लिख सकते हैं हम. Different editions में different spellings है. Here, Calpurnia or Calpurnia. Next, why? Caesar instructed Antony to touch Calpurnia while running the course, the holy race. For if the barren woman was touched in this holy race, she would be cured of her sterile curse. California was childless. और सीजर ने एंटनी को क्या इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया था? सीजर ने एंटनी को इंस्ट्रक्ट किया था, एंटनी तुम रेस में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हो, बट इन योर स्पीड डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू टच कैलिफोर्निया. कैलिफोर्निया को छूना मत भूलना, क्योंकि बुजुर्गों का कहना है अगर तुम रेस के दौरान एक बांझ स्त्री को छूओगे तो ये बांझ स्त्री क्या होगा उस बांझ स्त्री का? शी विल बी क्योर्ड ऑफ हर barrenness, of her infertility. Explain why Cassius says after his sour fashion. What part did Casca have in the actual murder of Caesar? This question is not there in the syllabus, but there is no harm in knowing what will happen later in the play. The word sour means bitter. The games are over and Caesar is returning. Cassius tells Brutus to stop Casca by pulling his sleeve, and Casca will in his own strange and bitter way tell Brutus of anything worthy of note that has happened. Casca से सब information मिलेगा, एंड ब्रूटस को अगर कुछ जानना है तो कास्का को स्टॉप करना है और कास्का को पूछना है क्या हुआ कास्का आज के दिन में. दिस शोज कास्कास प्रेजुडिस अगेंस्ट सीजर. कास्का को भी सीजर पसंद नहीं थे, एंड कास्का was prejudiced against Caesar and therefore he spoke so bitterly about Caesar. Next, Casca is the first senator to stab Caesar on the specific orders from Cassius. You will see when you are in class 10. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स जूलियस सीजर, पूरा जूलियस सीजर ड्रामा पढ़ चुके हैं. For them, this will be easy. What is the meaning of worthy of note? State briefly what Casca related bringing out the sour fashion. The expression worthy of note means worth noticing, worth noting, referring to the significant events, incidents that happened that day. And state briefly what Casca related. Casca explains that Caesar was offered a crown by Antony 3 times. Each time Caesar refused it, but he appeared less reluctant to accept it each time. After the third refusal, Caesar swooned from the falling sickness. He observes that the rabble responded to Caesar as they would to the plays in the theatre. This is his sour fashion, bitterness. Casca interpreted that Julius Caesar unwillingly refused to accept the crown. This shows his prejudice against Julius Caesar, to whom is Brutus drawing Cassius's attention when he says, "But look you, Cassius, give his comments on each of them." Brutus draws the attention of Cassius towards Caesar, Calphurnia, and Cicero. Now give his comments on each of them. Caesar's face looks angry and all the rest look like a chidden train. Calphurnia's cheek is pale and Cicero's eyes are as red as he has had in the Capitol when opposed in debates by some senators. So first Julius Caesar, second Calphurnia, third is Cicero. Here is the third. In this way, again, I have written a compact answer. सब कुछ मैंने यहाँ पे mention किया है. What information does Casca later give them about Flavius and Marulus? What trait of Caesar's character is shown in the incident? Marulus and Flavius are executed. They are put to death. They are sentenced to death for pulling off ornamental scarves from Caesar's statues. They are put to silence. A quotation. And what trait of Caesar's character is revealed? Caesar's tyranny, tanashahi. Caesar's tyranny is revealed here. He has all the authority in Rome and he ruthlessly suppressed the rebellion of Marulus and Flavius. Tyranny and ruthlessly, both the words must be there in your answer. I'm reading once again. Caesar's tyranny is revealed here. He has all the authority in Rome and he ruthlessly, mercilessly suppressed the rebellion of Marulus and Flavius. After this, moving on to the next extract. Extract number 4. The extract again is on the screen. When does Cassius speak these words? Cassius speaks these words when Brutus exits. He is all alone on the stage. Whom is he referring to in the second line? Cassius is referring to Brutus in the second line. And what is the purpose of these writings? Privately, Cassius believes that the success of his cause depends on seducing and tricking Brutus. Seduce करना है, trick करना है Brutus को, किसी भी तरह Brutus को अपने और खींचना है. And what is the cause of Cassius? He has hatched a conspiracy against Julius Caesar, assassination of Julius Caesar. Therefore, these letters will praise Brutus's reputation and hint at Caesar's ambition. Forged letters will seduce and trick Brutus. Where are these writings to be thrown? These writings are to be thrown into Brutus's house through his windows. Through his windows ना लिख के हम लिख सकते हैं through the windows of his house. ये better होगा. Through the windows of his house. Next, what effect is produced on this person when he reads it? Brutus interprets the writing to mean that he, like his ancestors who drove out the Tarquin, should act to prevent Rome from falling under the sway of a king. He vows to give justice to Rome. ये हम Act 2 में देखेंगे. Act 1 में ये नहीं है. After this, explain the meaning of several hands and obscurely. The expression several hands means in different handwritings. The letters will be written in many different handwritings. Obscurely का क्या मतलब है? The word obscurely means indirectly. In the letters, Caesar's ambition will be hinted at indirectly. Directly नहीं, indirectly, obscurely, vaguely. After this, question number 4. What aspect of Cassius's character do the above words illustrate? Learn the character sketch of Cassius, Caesar, Antony, Calphurnia. जितने भी characters हैं, सबके character traits जानना बहुत जरूरी है. Now, very quickly, Cassius is a clever manipulator. Number 1, he is jealous of Caesar and uses available means to reach his desired end. कुछ भी करके, जो भी resources available है, उसे use करके, he will manipulate Brutus. Clever manipulator 1, jealous of Caesar. Number 2, uses available means to reach his desired end. Number 4, he wants to win the confidence of Brutus and does not hesitate to use forged letters to seduce Brutus. He is not concerned about ethics or morality. 4 points. 3 marks. मैंने 4 points यहाँ पे add कर दिया है. Next, give 2 methods used by Cassius. 2 methods to win over Brutus. Cassius uses ways such as flattery. Number 1. Making things up to tell him or to give him the forged letters. He uses reverse psychology to convince Brutus. घुमा फिरा के. He appeals to Brutus's loyalty to Rome. He incites Brutus under the pretext of honor and freedom. So, this is the first method. And the second method, he uses forged letters. Flattery, forged letters, and then appealing to his sense of honor. The last extract, extract 5. When does Casca say this? Brutus and Cassius talk to Casca when he stays behind. Caesar and his train have left. Cassius asks Casca, what did Cicero say? During this conversation, Casca says this. To whom? Casca says this to Brutus and Cassius. वो दोनों से ही तब बात कर रहे थे. Next, narrate briefly the news that Casca has already related. Casca has already related the news of how Caesar, after the third refusal, soon from the falling sickness, he observes that a rabble responded to Caesar as they would to players in the theatre. He also says that when Caesar perceived that the people were glad, लोग खुश थे, when he had refused the crown, he asked Casca to cut his throat. When he recovered from his swoon, he said that his words must be attributed to his illness. So this is the news. Explain. Pulling scarves of Caesar's images and put to silence. The expression pulling scarves of Caesar's images mean removing ornamental scarves from Caesar's statues. Flavius and Marulus had removed decorations from Caesar's statues, disrobed the images. And then putting to silence means executed. Marulus and Flavius were sentenced to death as they had rebelled against Julius Caesar. The last two questions. What does put to silence reveal about Caesar's character? The expression put to silence suggests the ruthlessness of Caesar. थोड़ी देर पहले हमने ये डिस्कस किया था. In order to curb the rebellious tribunes, Caesar ordered their execution. He has become a tyrant, cold and merciless. This is revealed here in this section. What reason for their action does Flavius give in the opening scene of the play? How were Flavius and Marulus punished for their act? According to Flavius, if they suppress the growing popularity of Caesar, he would behave like an ordinary man, just as if they pluck out feathers from wings of a bird, it will not be able to fly high. The metaphor towards the end of Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 1. And how were Flavius and Marulus punished? They were killed. They were sentenced to death. These are the questions and answers from Test and Evaluation section, Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 2.